She shook the very foundations of what was expected of women in music. Today we're taking a deep dive into the musical maverick that was Sinead O'Connor, whose career paid a large price for challenging social norms. Her striking image was in direct opposition to the beauty standards of the day. Her sheer tenacity in not only pursuing the truth, but confidently and publicly declaring what she believed to be true even when the public were not ready to hear it, made her a legitimate pioneer of her time. But what performance appeared to be the straw that broke the camel's back? What gesture effectively got her cancelled from the US music world? What did even Madonna think was too polarising, and what does Sinead's musical activism say about the risk and impact of artistic free expression regarding hard cultural conversations? I am Diva Talk, and today we're honouring and analysing the late great Sinead O'Connor. Sinead first came to mainstream attention with the release of her 1987 debut, The Lion and the Cobra. It went platinum in Canada, gold in the US and UK, and Slant magazine went on to include it in their list of the best albums of the decade, declaring it as one of the most electrifying debuts in rock history, calling it regal, majestic, and allegorical. Her trailblazing lyrics and bold buzz cut became a lightning rod for debate. She was both celebrated and despised, yet continued to capture the public's attention. Her rejection that long hair was mandatory for femininity became an inspiring act of independence. O'Connor carved out a distinct persona, blending traditional Irish sounds with alt-rock. However, it would be her sophomore effort and its lead single that would lead her to global superstardom. In 1990, Sinead released her second album, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got. Its second single was a cover of an obscure Prince song from his side project The Family. The song was called Nothing Compares to You, and it would change Sinead's life forever. Sinead's vocal dynamics, going from vulnerable whisper to an emotional cry, immediately struck a chord with the public. Its accompanying music video became a defining visual of the era, underscoring the remarkable intimacy of her performance and the anguish of the song's content. Pitchfork went on to say that you have to look pretty hard to find a better expression in pop music of the void that exists when a relationship ends. Nothing Compares to You won the Video of the Year at the 1990 VMAs, becoming the first woman to do so. The song spent 4 weeks at number 1 in the US, also topping the charts globally. The album went double platinum in the US, peaking on the Billboard 200. Sinead was suddenly a superstar, but her resolute sense of independence also caused ongoing controversy. In 1990, Sinead generated headlines when she requested that the US national anthem not be played prior to her performance at an arts centre in New Jersey. Insisting she was not anti-American, Sinead pointed out that she had a policy against all anthems being played in any country, even her own, as they had no relevancy to her music. She received huge media backlash, led by Frank Sinatra, who opposed her stance and declared that she should leave the country, and for her sake, it's better if we never meet. In 1991, Sinead was nominated for 4 Grammys, including Record of the Year, and was a top contender. However, in a shocking turn of events, Sinead penned an open, scathing letter saying even if she won, she would not accept the award. But why would a budding singer boycott a potential victory? Sinead rejected the Grammys for glorifying commercialism, and opposed the idea that the awards define or affirm the quality of an artist.
The reason that I wanted to pull out was because the music industry as a whole operates mainly, it's concerned mainly with material success. And I think one of the ways that the industry encourages commercial success and materiality is by having award ceremonies which very much honour those who have achieved material success rather than people who have told the truth.
The move was divisive, some viewing her as ungrateful, while others supporting her stance. Rock band Living Colour's lead guitarist Vernon Reid accepted the Grammy for Best Hard Rock Performance wearing a Sinead O'Connor t-shirt. Cut to 1992, Sinead was invited to perform on Saturday Night Live, a huge US TV show that would provide enormous promotion to help maintain her career momentum. The audience expecting a usual dose of comedy and satire, except what actually occurred was an infamous surprise that would go down as one of the most controversial and consequential TV moments in US history. Sinead performed an a cappella version of the Bob Marley song War. An important thing to note about Saturday Night Live is that it's not just live in name, the program was aired in real time, one of the reasons for its success. The primetime hit had a sense of spontaneity. Will the performers make a mistake? Will there be a surprise? Will somebody laugh? The live nature of the show gave it an edge. At the end of her song, Sinead took out a picture of Pope John Paul II, the head of the Catholic Church, ripping it apart, and proclaimed, "Fight the real enemy."
Fight the real enemy!
As the show was live, there was little the producers could do, and this protest aired in front of millions, generating a tidal wave of anger. To say the moment was controversial is to merely hit the tip of the iceberg. NBC received 4,500 complaints. The New York Daily News called it a holy terror. The following week, Joe Pesci hosted and said if it had been on his show, he would have given her such a smack.
It wasn't my show, because if it was my show, I would have gave her such a smack.
Speaking to RT Radio in Dublin, the Queen of Pop even weighed in and commented that Sinead O'Connor went too far, stating, "I think there's better ways to present her ideas, rather than ripping up an image that means a lot to others."
Set her sights a little lower, taking on Long Island's infamous Joey Buttafuoco.
Fight the real enemy!
The fallout from SNL effectively cancelled her in the US, leading to record sales freefall, death threats, partial radio boycott by certain stations, concert cancellations, intense media scrutiny, and enormous emotional pressure on a woman who was already dealing with the trauma of surviving child abuse herself. Sinead was seen as a sacrilegious and blasphemous pariah. But what led her to such a forceful stand? What got lost in the mix was Sinead's sincere and understandable protest against the untenable child abuse cover-up by the Catholic Church that was only beginning to come to the surface. A global cover-up that went on for generations by the very institution that claimed to be the moral compass of Sinead's native country.
So look, we knew in Ireland 10 years before anyone in America or Canada knew. It's not about do I feel vindicated or you or me or any bloody body else. It's about these poor children who actually went through the violence and horror that we can't even begin to imagine. And if we care actually about it, we should make it our business to study what did they go through.
Sinead saw this opportunity to both expose wrongdoing and call for justice. The New York Times gave a more nuanced take, labelling Madonna's comments in particular as professional jealousy, while Spin pointed out that when Sinead's controversy threatened to shadow Madonna's impending project, she conveniently found religion again and savaged her in the press. Ultimately, Sinead's Catholic protest would be prophetic, but it left a disastrous and indelible mark on her career in the US, and for much of the remaining decade, Sinead struggled both commercially and personally. In spite of the huge backlash, Sinead stood firm in her convictions, speaking passionately against the abuse in the Catholic Church, but the weight of the criticism was evident and took its toll.
But it's very, very difficult just as a 24-year-old girl, like to be the butt, as I said, of such an enormous amount of hatred and venom and personal abuse, you know what I mean? It really gets to be a bit of a strain, so sometimes you feel like that cave is looking good.
However, as the years rolled on, and more survivors began coming forward, and the media finally gave coverage to the abuse cover-up, Sinead's actions slowly became vindicated.
With Saturday Night Live back in the early 90s and tore up a picture of the Pope. 10 years later, she was so prescient, everything she had said, it turned out to be just true, and people weren't ready to listen to it.
And for many, these actions transformed her into an icon who sacrificed much of her career to use their voice as an instrument for social change. Her controversial appearance generated discussions about the role of musicians in society. She became more than a divisive 90s moment, but a symbol of artistic courage who would go on to inspire numerous other artists to speak out against injustice without restraint. It may have cost her much of her commercial career, however, O'Connor repeatedly stated she held no regrets and fundamentally was a protest singer, uninterested in fame.
If I never did anything else before or since, I would be happy. But for an Irish female Catholic survivor of child abuse to have made such an artistic gesture and spiritual gesture, really, it was very, very important, you know, so I'm really proud that I got to be that person.
The 90s media, overall, definitely benefited from fanning the flames of mob mentality against Sinead for their own monetary success. I wonder if the same action had occurred even 10 years later, what the response would have been. Or could it be argued that a response would only be different a decade on due to Sinead's initial groundwork? As we reluctantly say goodbye to Sinead, let us remember her legacy of tenacity that transcended entertainment. Remember how she defied gender norms and those who tried to silence her. Remember her bravery, evident in her principled convictions, something so missing in today's music. Remember how poorly we treated people with mental illness, reducing them often to a joke. Remember her later wonderful albums that didn't get the same attention, but ultimately remember her as a singular woman in music whose resilient determination is a lesson for us all. To our lioness and self-proclaimed troublemaker, nothing really did compare to you. Sleep well, Sinead. Hi, I'm Diva Talk, and thanks for watching.